I am starting a new series. It is a meal prep series. It's going to be a lot of parts. I don't know how many yet. It will go on for about a week or so, and then it's going to wrap up. So it's going to be a short series. I just want to walk through some parts and share some things that I experienced and what I've learned. This will be the second time I've done this massive meal prep. And so I've learned some things from last time, and I just want to share any tips that I've learned. So the overall idea is I create 7 different meals, but 6 of each. So it's 42 meals. And so basically if every Monday we can eat the same thing, or every Tuesday or every Wednesday, or change it up, obviously there's times we still go out to eat. So we're not actually finished with all the meals in 42 days. It normally takes us about 55 days, sometimes more, to get through everything. For me, I've turned it into a 3-day process so I don't get overwhelmed. On day 1, I go through Pinterest, I find the meal that I want to create, I write out the ingredients for that one meal, I multiply it by 6, and then I put all those ingredients on a list. And then I basically put all of them together and have one huge master list, and then I go through and I delete anything that I have on hand. So like I've deleted pepper off the list, I've deleted salt, I've deleted cumin, I've deleted oil, like stuff that I already have on hand, I just deleted off my shopping list. I also print labels because I put labels on my freezer bag so I know what it is. It also has cooking directions and serving suggestions, like do I serve this with rice? Do I serve it with noodles? Do I serve it with garlic toast? So I also put that on the label. Day 2, I go shopping. I go to Costco first and buy everything there I possibly can, and then I buy everything else from Walmart. And day 3 is when I prep all the meals. I can normally do all 42 meals in one day. Sometimes if it's like a tedious recipe that just had a lot of stuff or a lot of chopping and slicing and dicing, sometimes it takes me 2 days to do all 42 meals. But think about it, all 42 meals are prepped, and basically you take one out of the freezer the night before, let it thaw out, and then the next day you're cooking it in the oven, maybe a pot on the stove, in the crock pot, but like there's not raw chicken out, you're not touching raw meat every day. It's really simple, and for me, I don't have a dishwasher, so I don't like cutting up raw meat on a daily basis, so this really helps me. And disclosure now, I use disposable freezer bags, so please don't come for me. I have tried reusable bags, even though they say they're gallon size, they're not quite the same size. It also grosses me out to put raw meat in a freezer bag and then wash it and reuse it when it had raw meat in it. It just doesn't sit well with me. And what I say is it's 1 bag a night for dinner, but if I order takeout for my family, it's a lot of trash. So please don't come for me. So since today's the first day, first steps first is clean out the fridge. I'm condensing things, getting rid of things that just never got eaten, which isn't often in this house. And it's not going to look pretty. I'm just trying to condense everything and put it all on one shelf if possible. So when I bring home all the raw meats tomorrow, I can stick them in the fridge for one day. So as you see, I put as much as I could on the top shelf, and I have 2 solid shelves open and some space on the bottom. So that way I can put all the raw food that I bring in tomorrow can all go on those 2 shelves. And then this is my freezer. Again, not too bad. It just, stuff gets used, doesn't put back where it goes. I just need to clean it up a bit, condense it. Here it is, all ready for once I do prep the meals. I need a freezer space, and I have to lay them flat. This is the second time that I've done this. So I have 6-week recipe number 2, and basically I went through and I did like pork shoulder and everything I want in it, a honey garlic chicken, my ingredients, Hawaiian meatballs, my ingredients, my chicken, fajitas, my ingredients, my sausage and pierogies, the ingredients, nacho chicken, and beef stroganoff. And then these are extras I always need, like rice, garlic knots, garlic bread, and tortillas. So basically in the first column, I did what one meal is, and then I multiplied it by 6. So instead of 2 pounds, I need 12 pounds. Instead of 1 onion, I need 6 onions. So basically I just went through and multiplied it by 6, and then I created a master grocery list. So these are all the meats that I need, and like when this says the 3 package of breasts, like those are the ones from Costco where it comes with like 6 individual ones with 2 breasts in each one. 12 pounds of ground beef, but again, keep in mind this is for 42 meals. And then I went through my produce. So originally it was 18 onions, but I had 5 on hand. So I went ahead and took those out. As I mentioned before, you can see all the seasoning. It's a lot more, but I have so much seasoning on hand already. I went through and deleted items that I already had. So honestly, this isn't too bad for 42 meals. And now I have 6 of each label. So basically I have 7 different recipes and 6 labels printed out for each one. I'll put those on my freezer bags as I'm prepping them. So this is day 2 of my meal prep where I actually go to the store and get everything. Now this is just from Costco, and this is where I got the majority of the meats, and I always try to find as much seasoning as I can because their seasoning is definitely cheaper than Walmart and you get more of it. So that's all the meats I got, and the seasonings and the bell peppers. Now this is the Walmart trip, and it's an entire cart full at Walmart, and then there is a case I forgot on the bottom of cream of celery. So that's everything I got from Walmart. Now this is all of it in the back of the car, Costco and Walmart together. Again, this is to create 42 meals. So this will create 42 dinners with all these ingredients. So that was my Walmart trip. And then I bring it home and I unload all of it on the counter. So I try to group everything together, but there's everything. I have all the seasonings, the canned goods, the stuff that needs to go in the refrigerator, like the sour cream, the cheese, the cream cheese, the kielbasa. All of that will go in the fridge. I just kind of wanted to show you on like a counter space what all of it looks like. Again, this is all the ingredients for 42 dinners. This is all my raw meat over here. So I have the hamburger, the 3 sets of chicken. I do have my frozen pierogies and frozen meatballs. Those will go into the freezer till I need them. And then my pork shoulder. So these bins back here, I put the raw meat in those before I stick them in my fridge, so in case they bleed or leak or anything. So the chicken took 2 containers, the ground beef is in 1 container, and the pork is in its own container. And it's all there in the fridge, ready for tomorrow. This is everything left. This is all dry goods or produce that can sit out until I prep it all tomorrow. And tomorrow I will try to create all 7 of these recipes, 6 of each, so it's 42 meals. So there's my total from Costco and Walmart. I divided it by 42 meals, so it's roughly $9.35 per meal. Then I divided it by 4 people, so it's $2.34 a person. I can't feed my family for that cheap, so this is definitely worth the effort. And we typically have leftovers, so Eddie and I eat those for lunch the next day anyway. So I'm getting ready to start my 42 massive meal prep, and I just wanted to show this is how I start. My counters are completely emptied off, the sinks are empty, I have a trash can and a recycling bin ready to go, so that way I can just rinse out my cans and toss them in, and then obviously any trash. And then these are my bag holders, so I have 6 of them, and I do make 6 of the exact same recipe. So I take one recipe and make it 6 times, and then I'm doing that for 7 different recipes. So I'm just getting these prepped and ready to go to hold my bag. The ingredients listed is to make 1 bag, which serves approximately 4. These are the ingredients that I used for this recipe specifically. And then I start out by prepping the chicken. Since I had to touch the raw chicken, I wanted to do it all at once. So that was enough chicken for 3 recipes, which is 18 bags. But when I'm cutting it up, I'm only cutting it up just for this recipe specifically. I'm cutting this into little chunks, so it's kind of like an orange chicken kind of entree. And then as I add each ingredient, I do 1 ingredient in all 6 bags. So I let out all the air and I lay them flat in the freezer. They do need to freeze flat, so once they're frozen, I can stand them upright for storage, but they're this way for now. And that's the first recipe done. Next up is chicken fajitas, and this recipe was a little daunting because there are a lot of seasonings in it, but it was still really fun to make. So I started by labeling my bags and putting the bags on the bag holder, and then I sliced the chicken for this recipe so it's fajita style. And basically whenever I add an ingredient, I just go from left to right down the bag. So when I put in salt, I do salt 6 times. When I put in pepper, I do pepper 6 times, chili powder 6 times. It just makes it so much smoother. And then again, that's me adding the bell pepper, the onions. I just go from left to right on most of the bags, and it's easier that way. And then in the end, I mix it all together and lay flat. This one is super fast and easy because I'm actually leaving the chicken breast whole, because I'm going to cook these in the crock pot and then I am going to shred them for chicken nachos. So the day I make it, these will be chicken nachos, and if there's any chicken left over, I'll make chicken salad the next day, labeling my bags, putting them on the stand. Then I'm going to drop in the chicken. Again, I'm only cutting it to divide out the few pieces that are left evenly. And then I'm going to go through and add my taco seasoning. And then I'm going to open the cans of Rotel and add 1 can per bag. I think I need a new can opener because that process was way too difficult. So I'm going to mix them up, lay each one flat, and let the air out and fold them in half because they don't take up too much space, and put them in the freezer. For this next recipe, I did forget to show the ingredients before I used them, so I put them all back on the counter to show you after all my empty supplies. Oopsie! But basically, I start by labeling my bags and putting them on the bag stand. I wasn't sure how many meatballs would fit in each bag. It ended up being about 46 or 48 per bag, and I used 2 full bags and divided it 6 ways. And then again, like always, I started with the brown sugar, went from left to right, then the pineapple left to right, and I just put the same ingredient in all at once and just go down each bag. That way I don't have to get the ingredient back out as I go. I just use it one time all the way through. Let out the air, put in the freezer. This one's a great meal because you can create it 3 different ways. After you cook it, you can make like barbecue pork sliders out of it. You can make chipotle bowls out of it. Or you can even make like carnita street tacos. So again, like always, label the bags, put them on the stand. I started struggling cutting through these huge chunks of meat, so I had Eddie step in, and you can see him cut it up for me. So I divided that in 6 bags, and like always, I just take my seasonings and I start from left to right, and I do that one seasoning all the way across. So when I'm done with it, I'm done with it. I can move on. Same thing with the onions. I start in the left, just add it to each bag as I go. And doing one ingredient 6 times over, I swear, is the easiest thing ever. Let the air out, lay flat, put in the freezer. This one was super easy to make, and cleanup was a breeze. So for the pierogies, instead of buying the individual boxes of like the 12 or 16 ounce, I bought these giant bags. I found them at Costco. So I did have to weigh them because I put 32 ounces in each bag. So I brought out my scale just for this recipe. And then I went ahead and grated fresh cheese and put a whole 8-ounce block in each bag. I started getting tired, so Eddie came in for the assist on some of this because it just kept moving around. And then I'm cutting the cream cheese into little cubes so it'll help better in the cooking process. And then just cutting up the sausage. This is going to be a crock pot recipe, so I'll just dump the whole thing in the crock pot, and I will add chicken stock the day I cook it, but I'll show that on the cooking version of this when I'm all finished. So in this whole series of batch cooking, this is the only recipe where I did pre-cook the ingredients first because I just wasn't sure how good it would taste or if it would be possible not to. So I'm basically just browning the meat, just basically taking all the pink out. I had to cook this in batches because it was 12 pounds of ground beef. And so while it was cooking, I would step away and dice onions. So that way, once the meat was ready, I could go through and do the whole kit. So I did pre-dice the onions for this one. And this is going to make a beef stroganoff, so the day of, I will put all these ingredients in the crock pot, and once it's like to a boil and warm, I'll dump in uncooked egg noodles and just let them cook in it, and it'll really thicken it up, and it'll be, hopefully, a really great stroganoff. I've never made it before, so fingers crossed. I'm labeling bags. I'm putting them on the bag stand. I'm going through and putting 2 cans of cream of celery. Obviously, the recipe should be cream of mushroom, but I don't like mushrooms, so I use cream of celery. I added the French onion mix, the onions. You know the drill by now, just going through and adding each recipe to the bag. Then I add the ground beef. Then I mix the ingredients together and lay flat, let the air out, and then I'm going to put it in the freezer. Okay, everyone, I'm officially done. I did get all 7 meals done, so 42 in one day. It took me about 8 hours to do it all. It's now 7:30 at night, but that being said, I've taken lunch breaks, dinner breaks, just breaks. So I did it. This is the current state of my kitchen. That stuff's dirty, that stuff's clean. Have some more stuff in the sink. I need to rinse that out for the recyclables. And I just need to do like an overall like pickup of the kitchen. It's not horrible for 42 meals, but it's a lot. And then I have mentioned before about using plastic bags. Remember, I said don't come for me for not using reusable bags because, again, the thought of raw meat being in there and washing them and reusing them grosses me out, and I just wanted to show you something. This is my trash after prepping for 42 meals. So keep in mind, you could still add 42 freezer bags in there, and it would be 1 bag of trash. So 1 bag of trash created 42 meals to feed 4 people and my entire family. And then all these recyclables, they've all been washed out and rinsed and ready to go, completely full. So like I said, I recycle as I go. The freezer is a hot mess right now because when you let them freeze, you have to lay them on their side first, and they're not fully solid yet because they're bending. But once they're fully solid tomorrow, I'll go through and organize it. Like, this is a previous meal. This is tikka masala I made last time. And as you can see, like, it stands completely upright once it's frozen. But that was frozen on its side just like these. So once these fully solidify in the morning, I'll lift them up and I'll stack them together, and my freezer will look much better because right now it's a hot mess. I hope you enjoyed the videos and the way it was filmed. It's the only way I know how to do it. I'm not great at this. I don't know how to edit, so filming it in a time lapse was the easiest thing for me to show you everything I did. I tried. As the week goes, I'll take out one recipe the night before and I'll thaw it in the fridge. And then I'll make a video on how I cooked it. Some will be in the oven, some will be in a crock pot, some might be on the stove. So I'll let you know how I cook it and I'll show you the reveal of how it turns out. Again, all but one of these recipes are cooking from raw food, so it should taste fresher, look fresher, but who knows, maybe something's mushy, maybe something isn't seasoned right. I'll let you guys know how the recipe turns out, so it'll take about a week, week and a half, because obviously there's 7 recipes, so it'll take me at least 7 nights to cook everything if we don't go out. Thank you for following.